Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into the fascinating history of the absolute powerhouse of British Bengal, the Dhaka Nawab family. You know, if you've ever walked through the bustling streets of modern-day Dhaka, you've probably passed by schools, massive hospitals, or historic buildings without even realizing that almost all of them trace their roots back to this single, incredibly influential bloodline. So we're going to unpack exactly how a family of 18th century merchants built an empire that essentially laid the blueprints for an entire modern city. The sheer grandeur of their coat of arms really sets the tone for their immense wealth, royalty, and historical influence. It closely resembles the British royal coat of arms from the late 1700s, complete with those majestic lions and meticulous heraldry. But you know, this wasn't just a pretty logo, it was a massive statement. It communicated to the entire subcontinent that the Nawabs of Dhaka were not just wealthy landowners. They were an aristocratic powerhouse operating in total harmony with the British Raj. To truly grasp their legacy, we'll be covering the rise of the Nawab family, notable Nawabs throughout history, their massive contributions to education and infrastructure, their roles in politics and social service, and finally, their legacy and current status today.
Section 1. The Rise of the Nawab Family, from merchants to landowners.
This story actually kicks off thousands of miles away from Bengal. Right after Nadir Shah's devastating invasion of Delhi, a group of Kashmiri merchants, specifically Khwaja Abdul Wahab and Khwaja Abdullah, migrated to Dhaka in the 1730s. And they definitely didn't start off as royalty. They actually built their wealth through the highly lucrative trade of leather, gold, and spices, working right alongside Armenian and Greek merchants. But the real game changer? Well, that happened when they strategically pivoted. Under the leadership of Khwaja Hafizullah, they started taking their massive trading profits and pouring them into purchasing land estates, or zamindaris, right as the British Permanent Settlement Act was totally shaking up property ownership in Bengal.
Just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about here, 141,000. Back in 1812, at a government auction, they managed to scoop up an estate spanning 141,000 bighas in Barsal. And the price? A mere 21,001 taka. To put that into perspective, by 1870, the rental income from that exact same property was pulling in over 200,000 taka annually. It's pure financial genius, really. They weren't just buying land, they were buying up entire economies. They consolidated their holdings and set up an ironclad family trust, a waqf, in 1854, specifically so future generations couldn't squander the wealth.
Section 2. Notable Nawabs, the architects of an empire.
Let's meet the key players. First up is Khwaja Alimullah. He was the visionary who laid down the estate's administrative foundation. He even went out of his way to learn English just to build better relations with the British, and he organized all those chaotic landholdings into a highly structured empire. Then we have his son, Sir Khwaja Abdul Ghani. During the 1857 Sepoy Mutiny, he allied with the British, which actually earned him the prestigious title of Nawab in 1875. The British later made that title hereditary for the family. Abdul Ghani was really the one who catapulted the family from regional landlords to undisputed aristocrats.
The torch was then passed to Sir Khwaja Ahsanullah. Now, he wasn't just a ruler. The man was an Urdu poet, writing under the pen name Shaheen, and he poured his immense wealth straight into modernizing Dhaka's infrastructure. Following him was his son, Nawab Sir Khwaja Salimullah, and Salimullah is arguably the most famous of the bunch because he shifted the family's entire focus from mere administration to high-stakes national politics. He practically became the central driving force in East Bengal's modern history.
Section 3. Education and Infrastructure, building modern Dhaka.
Nothing quite illustrates their grandeur like Ahsan Manzil. If you visit Dhaka today, this vibrant pink palace sitting right on the banks of the Buriganga River is an absolute showstopper. It's gorgeous. Interestingly enough, it originally belonged to French traders as a factory. Khwaja Alimullah bought it, and they totally transformed it into this iconic residential palace named after Nawab Asimillah. It became the beating heart of their empire, literally the place where local politics were shaped and British dignitaries were entertained.
But here's the thing, they didn't just build fancy palaces for themselves. They essentially built the city's civic backbone. In 1874, Nawab Abdul Ghani revolutionized the city by establishing the waterworks. Before this, safe drinking water was a huge luxury. He set up a system providing pure, filtered water to the citizens of Dhaka completely free of cost. Just think about the massive public health impact of that single action. And on top of that, the family was also responsible for bringing the city its very first electricity supply. They were literally dragging the city into the modern age, paying for it out of their own pockets. Their vision for the future was also deeply rooted in education. We're talking 600 acres of it. Nawab Salimullah made this absolutely monumental philanthropic gesture by donating roughly 600 acres of prime real estate, along with massive funds, to establish a premier educational institution. He understood that for the region to truly thrive, the people needed access to world-class higher education.
It's honestly staggering to realize that the most prestigious educational and medical institutions in the country today literally sit on the land and financial foundation provided by this one single family. Those 600 acres I just mentioned, that became Dhaka University. BUET, which is the country's top engineering university, actually started off as the Ahsanullah School of Engineering, funded directly by the Nawabs. Sir Salimullah Medical College and the Salimullah Muslim Orphanage were also born from their philanthropy. They weren't just hoarding all this wealth, they were actively planting the seeds for a modern, educated society. Section 4. Politics and Social Service Shaping the Subcontinent.
At the turn of the 20th century, the Nawabs heavily championed the rights and socio-economic advancement of Muslims in East Bengal. In 1905, they strongly supported the partition of Bengal, viewing it as a vital step for regional development. Most notably, though, in 1906, Nawab Salimullah played the principal role in founding the All India Muslim League, right there in Dhaka. This was a monumental, historic event that would eventually alter the entire political map of South Asia forever. His relentless advocacy also secured the establishment of Dhaka University in 1912. Sadly, his intense political career came to a very abrupt end with his mysterious death in Calcutta in 1916.
What makes this family so incredibly captivating is how they embodied this fascinating duality. On one hand, you have extreme, almost unimaginable opulence, like they literally bought the famed Darya and Noor diamond at a government auction in 1852. It's a legendary gem that currently sits in a vault at Sonali Bank. But on the other hand, you have this widespread, highly progressive charity. They were funding the Mitford Hospital in Dhaka, sending money all the way to Aligarh College in India, and even defying highly conservative social norms by financially supporting female stage actors. They lived like kings, for sure, but they spent like modern humanitarians.
Section 5. Legacy and Current Status. What remains today?
In 1950, the zamindari system was officially abolished, which unfortunately stripped the family of their vast land revenues and their traditional power. But their charitable mission survives to this very day. Remember that brilliant move by Khwaja Alamullah back in 1854? He created Waqf estates. These are legal philanthropic endowments that cannot be easily dissolved. Because of these incredibly smart legal structures, the charitable properties and the funds dedicated to mosques, orphanages, and schools were fully protected from being entirely seized or squandered.
Today, figures like Nawab Dr. Khwaja Iqbal Ahsanullah serve as the mutawalli, or the legal manager, overseeing these surviving charitable Waqf estates. Meanwhile, the past generations, those powerful men who walked the halls of Ahsan Manzil and literally negotiated the future of Bengal, they now rest peacefully in the historic family graveyard in Begum Bazar. It's a quiet, shaded final resting place that stands in stark contrast to the loud, bustling city they helped create.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you walk past a university, a hospital, or even just turn on the tap water in Dhaka, ask yourself, how much of this city's beating heart was built by the Nawabs? It really challenges us to think about the incredible long-term impact of wealth when it's deeply tied to civic duty. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.